It's a cliche, but it's also true. Sometimes life's opportunities come disguised as challenges. And you run into more of those challenges if you live life as recklessly as I do. Damn it. Yep, first thing I did with this phone, I dropped it. I even told myself, don't risk it outside the case on this uneven surface on a breezy day. You're going to regret this. And seconds later, I did. And I briefly considered asking Apple for another review device so I could present it, well, like I usually do, letting the camera linger lustily on a gorgeous piece of engineering. But here's the thing. This phone doesn't lend itself to that kind of extravagance. Even though it's not that cheap, the iPhone 16e is, in fact, the most affordable in the 16 series. The device Tim Cook probably means now when he tells you to
buy your mom an iPhone.
So I decided to embrace the scuffs I had earned through my habitual negligence, to treat them as a preview of what this thing would probably look like after a few years of hard use. Well, and then I thought, well, why not lean even harder into it? I dropped my work camera back at home, more carefully than I'd dropped the phone, and I started shooting this sucker mostly on other iPhones, before I'd even written a script. Because just like anyone who'd paid even an iota of attention to the tech space this past week, I already knew the questions I wanted to answer. 1. Is that new Apple-made modem any good? 2. How much do I miss the many omissions Apple made to get this thing down to a $5.99 price point? And 3. Who is this for, really? It's easiest to answer the first question, about the modem. It absolutely passes muster. This is the component your phone relies upon to connect to the cellular network, and in addition to being on the fringe in many delightful ways, my Red Hook corner of Brooklyn is also a fringe area for cellular coverage, so it's a good testing ground. And speed testing side by side with an iPhone 16 Pro, which uses the Qualcomm modem Apple has long relied upon, the phones went punch for punch on AT&T. Oddly enough, one of them usually outpaced the other, but which one won and which lost alternated almost every time. I only saw the 16e truly stumble once, right on the edge of New York Harbor, when a speed test failed because the phone was switching between 5G and 5G+. That's AT&T's low and mid-band networks. Otherwise, if you hadn't mentioned the hardware difference, I'd never have noticed. So Apple seems poised to replicate in modems the success it's found on MacBooks with homegrown silicon. Another domain in its vertically integrated empire. It's just as easy, albeit less joyful, to answer my second question. I notice almost all of the 16e's compromises. MagSafe has been one of the defining features of Apple devices since the iPhone 12, when the company even found a way to cram it into the tiny 12 mini. It's spawned a bustling ecosystem of chargers and wallets and car mounts and pop sockets. And not only is MagSafe gone on the 16e, but Apple has announced no plans to build cases that include it, leaving the market wide open for third-party accessory makers like the one we might hear from in a few minutes. Thankfully, Apple has retained 7.5-watt wireless charging, which is slow, but actually did come in handy during my testing when I ran low on power and needed to top it up at the brewery without a cable. But I still miss MagSafe because this would have been easier and faster with my portable power bank. I also miss that extra camera a lot. I've seen some people on social say this is somehow better because it looks cleaner, to which I say, congratulations, postmodern minimalism. You've finally fooled everyone into thinking less is always more. Not having the utility of an ultra-wide camera when you physically can't take a step back is something I complained about loudly on my Motorola Razr review from last summer, and it's no less an impediment here. Nor is the lack of a proper telephoto camera any less lamentable because this is a so-called cheap iPhone. Now, there is an obvious counter to that. One good camera is usually preferable to two mediocre ones. And as you can see, this 48-megapixel shooter is plenty good. But in my view, that's still a choice you shouldn't have to make at a buck under $600. And Apple's assertion that its digital crop fake zoom solution is somehow two cameras in one is, well, it's just as dubious as its insistence that a screen that looks like this is somehow edge to edge. While I can't look at these camera results and complain, I also can't defend a single-camera iPhone at this price point. Some people get hung up on cameras. For others, it's refresh rates. For others, it's notches. And, well, all of us have something to complain about this time around. If you do a quick survey of the early reviews of the 16E, the grand unifying theme of the thoughtful ones has been confusion. Because alongside an iPhone 15 that's still on sale for only $100 more capable in meaningful ways, in a consumer landscape that sees most people paying monthly or after trade-ins, Apple has failed to clearly articulate the 16E's target customer. Just watch Marquez's video for a funny encapsulation of this. I've seen it said that it's a good fit for people considering switching to iOS from Android, but I can't agree. Putting this thing against its mid-range Android equivalents only amplifies the diversity that makes Google's platform so great. Nothing phones with their fun, design-forward experimentation. The Pixel A series with its more versatile cameras and more mature, if less privacy-minded AI. Even that entry-level Razr from Motorola with its mediocre cameras gives you a phone that folds in half for $100 less. In the absence of that clarity, conspiracy theories abound. Some say the 16E is a ploy to push customers into more expensive iPhones. Others, that it was a low-stakes way to introduce a modem that could have given Apple a black eye. My friend David Amell has wondered whether it was intended to be a $499 phone, the looming specter of increased tariffs bumping it by a Benjamin. But the speculation that I find most believable is that the 16E is a work phone. Several folks in my comments have said their employer-issued phones for the past few years have been the iPhone SE, now discontinued and aging out, and the only iPhone model for which the 16E could be seen as a no-compromise upgrade. When I think about volume discounts for big corporations, and weigh it alongside the uninspired black and white color options here, well, the 16E sure starts to look like a pretty solid Corpo-phone. Oh, speaking of the paint, I want to end by giving the phone another bit of credit. It survived that caseless concrete drop that kicked us off, and another one after it. Yeah, I am the worst. Its battery lasts and lasts, taking me through almost 2 full days after I forgot to charge it overnight once during my week of testing. I never once noticed its slightly binned down A18 processor. This thing is overpowered just like almost every iPhone. It's got an action button, satellite SOS, and most, or at least some of the other things that make it an iPhone 16. Back in my retail days, this would have been the phone to which we would steer the customers who truly didn't care. You know, the ones who seemed to resent the need to have a phone in the first place, the people who wanted to get out the door in the shortest amount of time while spending the least amount of money, in installments or otherwise. It's a solid iPhone for people who only want to think about getting the cheapest iPhone. And in that respect, it does the job, because of course it does. Back in my Mobile Nations days, we had a placeholder headline for reviews whose verdicts we hadn't fully established yet. A phone that exists. And, well, that's my submission for what the E stands for on this one. And I can't go out without saying that my iPhone 16E would still be pristine had it been wearing a suit from my sponsor, dbrand. Maker of screen protectors that go on easy, and cases that say you might have to carry a Corpo-phone, but it doesn't have to look like one. Oh, and dbrand is one of those accessory makers who will let you bring MagSafe back to this one. Dbrand your device at the link below. This video was produced following 1 week with an iPhone 16E review sample provided by Apple, but as always, the manufacturer had no editorial input into this content, nor did it provide compensation for same or receive an early preview thereof. If this is your first time to the channel and you enjoyed this review, please subscribe to the Mr. Mobile on YouTube, and follow me at Captain Two Phones on all the socials to keep up with me between videos. Until next time, from Michael Fisher, thanks for watching, and stay mobile, my friends.